let's focus on the farm sector, because lots was doled out in terms of positives in the farm sector. The customs duty on farm machinery has been cut to 2.5% from 5%. Farm sector companies will get an investment deduction for the capacity expansion that they roll out. The interest rate subvention for farm loans is extended to FY12. So all of this will indirectly help the financing in the farm sector. Let's find out from Rohtash Mal, who is the Executive Director and CEO of Escorts. Mr. Mal, thanks so much for joining us on the show. Just start off by telling us the impact that the budget would have on the farm sector and the growth that is outlined for the sector in 2011.
Firstly, the growth that we saw of 5.5%, which was mentioned in the budget document, was obviously on a low base last year. So if you average it out over the last couple of years, you're probably looking at between 2 to 3% growth. Secondly, what I'm delighted with is the current budget. There are a few not so positives, but what I'm delighted with is the focus that the government is coming in on the farm sector. Finally, after many decades, we're beginning to see the outlines of a strategy emerging for the farm sector. The increase of the outlay almost by 100,000 crores is very welcome news indeed, almost between 28 to 30%. And the couple of things that you mentioned in terms of subvention of interest rates, focus coming on the cold chain, storage facilities, etc. These bode very well for the farm sector. In fact, what is enthusing also is that for the first time there has been there's a drilling in on the various sectors. For example, there's a deployment of a sizable amount of funds on vegetables, pulses, oilseeds. So more than merely a deployment of funds, I am seeing outlines of a good strategy, and I think it bodes well, very well indeed, for the farm sector and industries such as ourselves, which are associated with the farm sector.
Okay. Well, Mr. Rohtash Mal, if you wear your CII cap, you were heading the agricultural wing of the CII, and therefore, do you think any of these had a material impact on the farm sector over the past 2 or 3 years? You yourself pointed out that 5.4% number is not something to be gung-ho about, because we regularly have, negative agricultural contraction 1 year and 2 years of, 4 to 5% growth. Agriculture is a story of absolute, you can't even call it stability, static production for almost a decade now. In the past also we have seen announcements made. Do you think, we had that oilseeds mission, technological mission, but we've not seen such any improvement. Have you in the past 3-4 years, since you look at the farm sector fairly closely from the agricultural inputs angle, seen any difference at all?
Lata, I do see as I said, the early glimmers of a strategy. As I mentioned early on in our conversation, I just said this is the good news part. There is the not so good news. The not so good news is the strategy that one would like to see is treating agriculture almost at the same level as the science in which you manage industry. For example, there's a lot of work still needs to be done. 475,000 crores is something to be enthused about. What is hiding behind that is how well are we utilizing this money? How well is this money deployed on the ground? I can talk at length about so many thousand crores goes into here and NABARD got refunded and so on. At the end of the day, it's about execution, it's about the details on the ground. Just watch for a few things that the finance minister touched but then didn't go inside. Number one of the biggest things that can benefit the farmer and get cash at the hands of the farmer is mandi reform. For example, there's no reason why a city like Delhi should have one mandi. Reforms of mandis, the treatment of the transit of perishables such as fruits and vegetables needs to be handled in a far greater manner. Now, there are a huge number of areas, as I said a short while ago, where it is not merely the deployment of funds, but the manner in which these projects are executed on the ground, and more importantly, the speed of execution. Having said that, and to be charitable to a point, I do see in the last 2 or 3 years hope, improvement on the ground. For example, let me share with you. About 18 or 24 months ago when I spoke to you, I talked about financing in the farm sector. As I see the sales in the last month, for example, of tractors, What used to be on credit at 90 or 92% 3 years ago is down to 62%. So money has reached the hands of the farmer. It's arguable whether it's through other methods such as the management of minimum support prices and so on.
So now that financing has increased on the ground, and now that financing has increased on the ground, Mr. Mal, no, I was just referring to the point that you made about increase in finance in the sector. How much of a, let's get down to your own business, how much more of a price hike do you think you could undertake? Because the situation clearly is improving and you've taken a lot, I think about 4% or so in the last couple of months is what you've done. How much more can you eke out and how would that really help your profitability? Because margins have been constrained for a while.
That's true. I think it is now that things are improving in the farm sector, there are two ways in which profitability arrives. One is margins per se, and the other is volumes. So between margins per unit and volumes is where any industry makes its profitability. And going forward, it's not merely the passing on of costs, which partly needs to be done. It's the management of volumes, is the compression of costs as you have. So I do believe that even for our industry, this is an impetus. But of course, other things you still need to do on a managerial level, increase your volumes, manage your costs, get closer to the customer. Those are constants in any case.
Okay, finally, Mr. Rotashmal, this small measure, basic customs, concessional rate of basic customs duty of 5% provided to specified agricultural machinery, is this, will it mean that there could be more farm mechanization? Is there at all?
No.
Okay.
This is not material. You're talking about customs duty. Let's put it like this. You take down customs duty 2.5% on an item of machinery that's about 1 lakh or 1.5 lakh.
Okay.
You're talking about an impact of 3,000 rupees on the ground. It has no material impact on mechanization. It's a good move. It brings customs duties, etc. in line with, but do not expect moves like this to have even a ripple on the mechanization of the farm sector. And having said that, one more thing, Lata, I do wish that we had seen far more focus in this budget, and I'm sure we'll see it in the years ahead, on actually encouraging mechanization of farms.
Okay, just one final word then on what kind of run rate you're hoping to maintain in tractors in 2011 now that the financing has picked up and the situation has improved a little?
Nothing changed from yesterday and after. But our run rates are looking good. We just closed February. You see the smile on my face and also a smile of anticipation coming forward in the months ahead.
Right.
We'll surprise you in this industry.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rotashmal, for joining us. Cement prices, cement likely to get dearer. That is to be expected. It may not be only the excise at all.